Hey everybody, this is another video for comic book spoiler review. Following in the theme of Halloween is another Batman story. Batman has a lot of holiday themed stories, specifically uh, it could be Halloween related for a lot of stuff, given like certain spooky elements that can fit in Batman's world. So I'm covering Batman Damned, uh, written by Brian Morello, art by Lee Bermejo. Uh, Bermejo also uh, made Batman Noel, one of my personal favorite Batman stories, which I did a review on last Christmas. So if you want to check out my thoughts on that comic, please check that out. YouTube.com/talkativecarl. Uh, Also, hit that notification bell and like button. So, uh, Batman Damned is a continuation of. This is kind of like a sequel to almost like a decade long prior to the issue of this 3-issue run of the Joker, also written by Lee Bermejo. Same art as well. I really like Bermejo's art in a lot of his work. Not exactly my favorite Batman costume he designed, but it's all right. And this is part of like DC Black Label line. Or this is supposed to have been like the start of an official of like a Black Label line that I was, it's still kind of going on, but it was like a huge. I want to address the controversy right out the gate before I get into the story. When this first issue came out, at least let's just say like several months, almost to a year prior to the first Black Label story, DC, editorial company wanted to start out with this Black Label line for mature readers. That was a huge thing. If you were in the whole comic book know-how, you would get at least a whiff of the news about the Black Label lines, uh, where there's pretty much elseworld stories where writers and artists can pretty much have free reign on doing whatever it is that they like to certain characters. And uh, we'll get to it in once we cover like the first issue. But you get uh, like a silhouette almost of Bruce Wayne's dick in a, in a panel, and this, it's like word got around like, oh, you get to see Batman's dick in this, even though he's in his own damn house. And if you ever been by yourself in your own house, you could be bare ass, butt naked, as much as you want. He's in his own bat cave, undressing, and just fully in the nude. And once word got around, certain groups got up in arms, like, oh, this is supposed to be it's a Batman book, like boo boo. This is it's like what, like you show this guy's penis and it's supposed to be like for kids, and it's like clearly he wasn't paying attention, or he wasn't listening to your kids, because it was clearly advertised for a while that is for mature content. I'm pretty sure in the cover it mentions that, but at that same time, DC Company had like a new CEO or whatever. I think it's a woman. I don't know if her name Pam or something like that. And she getting all these reports on her desk about all these uh complaints about like, well, we're seeing like Batman's junk, on a Batman book that's supposed to, that I gave to my kid, blah 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 blah. Then the late night, you know, Jimmy Kimmel, you know, hosts, not just Jimmy Kimmel, but the other late night hosts all started like, bringing this up on their little monologues and making jokes. And so because of like this new like, oh, I just got this job and already getting controversy. No, kill it. Because you know if you was lucky enough to get the book right out the gate and you actually got the original illustration, good on you. Hold on to that. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be worth a lot because you can't get them anymore because future books and prints or wherever you look up to read this online, you don't get to see that anymore. They pretty much edit it all out from future stuff. And maybe you can do some kind of, well, they have to distribute it. I'm saying, like, I don't know, maybe you can find somebody like on eBay willing to sell it, but it's going to be pretty expensive. But it's like, first of all, grow up, people. Second of all, that's like, you took over the company, well, I say took over, but you had like a very high seat at the table of DC Company. And first of all, you didn't, before you start axing and, everything with these future books and do all these little edits and stuff like that, and make sure that future Black Label stuff doesn't go too far, or at least from what I understand, the next two issues of Batman Damned. And then first and foremost, they got like the word "damn" on the front. So what you think was gonna be, you think it was gonna be sunshine and rainbows for like 6-year-olds? They shouldn't be like picking us up. But the parents didn't do their freaking research, and then the new CEO didn't do their research and asking around like, what's going on? And like, if you're taking over, you should be able to do your research and see, okay, what was their plan, before I got here in the past, year, so that way I could be up to speed. One of which should have been about Batman Damned and what is entailed and how it was marketed. It is for mature readers, not meant for little kids. And it's just like with like the first Deadpool movie, how it was heavily marketed. It's not your typical superhero movie. It's rated R. It's rated R. Deadpool said it verbatim in all the trailers. It's rated R. Do not bring your fucking kids, 10-year-olds, to this freaking movie because it's not gonna be meant for them. But still did it. Still complain, but they can piss them on all they want in the wind. Doesn't change the fact that you've been fair warned. And it's like that, and the boss, the new boss, didn't try to seize the opportunity. Oh, they're talking about us on late night television. How about we use this to our advantage and like go, get one of the writers to go on this thing and start talking about Batman and get more people to read this. Didn't really like capitalize off of that, and it just dumbfounded me. And this is one of the things about these comic book companies that I always get like up in arms about, because I think it was a good idea. I was I still like Black Label stories, but I think like what universe, uh, alternate universe where they push forward uh, and double down on what their initial plan was with Black Label, because I think with all this little, regressing, because I feel like they regress instead of capitalizing off of this news, we could have gotten like some really good Black Label content. And not that what we got now isn't good, but it's like I imagine they could, can lean a little harder into it if they wanted to. But anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up because, like, because it's not like uh, like Captain America becoming like a Hydra Supreme and stuff like that. Two different things. That was just a terrible story. This is a great story with like you get top of the line uh uh imprints meant for a specific age group. And it's like people want to see their writers and artists go hard in their stories and be as creative as they want to be without worrying about messing with the continuity and upsetting the fan base and blah blah blah. Because mainline continuity can be hit and miss in general. Because you gotta see like what the last person did with their little arc, and you gotta not mess up, what they got going on the mainline characters. Like you don't have to worry about that with Elseworlds. That's one of the reasons why people love Elseworlds. You actually get like good stories from that. Like at least 9 out of 10, you get great stories from Elseworlds. Anyway, Batman. Damn. Oh, I forgot to start like I keep forgetting about setting up my slideshows. What the heck is wrong with me? One second. I'm sorry. I am so sorry. Like it's like always a thing. Luckily, it's only like 13 images. Yeah, it's always like the certain decisions that these head honchos make, always seem like counterintuitive uh, from one moment to the next. And don't get me started on the events, because currently right now I'm enjoying the Marvel Judgment event with Avengers, X-Men, and Eternals. However, probably would have enjoyed it a whole lot more if prior to that we didn't get bombarded from Marvel and DC with just event, and then 3-4 months later another event, 3-4 months later another event, and it's like, and I'm exaggerating, but you catch my drift. It's like and a lot of people would be in agreement. It's like we do not care. Like it's like you just providing quantity over quality, and it's like you should do an event if you have like a significant story you want to tell, and Judgment is phenomenal. Prior to that, X-Men Hox and Pox was great. Forever Evil was a great event. I just did like a review of that, which you can check out up on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/talkativecarl. No, wrong one. I love the names, Azarello and Bermejo. I love those names. There you go. Yeah, so Batman Damn. So we'll begin with narration, which I'm gonna cut to the chase, is narrated by John Constantine, given the way it's the dialogue is written. You can tell it's like some British idiot. And I forget if it was Azarello or Bermeo. I don't know which one, but one of them worked on a lot of Constantine stuff, so he know how to write this character. And I gotta tell you, Matt Ryan does impressive work with Constantine, and just like with Hugh Jackman with Wolverine and um Ryan Reynolds with Deadpool, their voice is all I hear when I read those kind of characters. Same thing with Kevin Conroy when it comes to Batman. Every time I read Batman, I just hear his voice because they just ingrain themselves in these characters to the point where nobody else can do it better, almost. But Batman wakes up in an ambulance where like some ME's nearly pulling off his mask, and wigs out. He's already like bleeding from stab wounds from his fight with the Joker. If you read Joker by Bermejo back, I think 08, 09, he got stabbed on the bridge. So right now he's bleeding, and the color work is very unique and specific here in a sense, because the color does not really match with the palette that's going on everywhere else in the panels. So Batman is in a panic, and like the look of Gotham City in Azzarello and Bermejo's eyes, like that's freaking Gotham City almost to a T. I think like they and the creators behind the animated series, and of course like the Arkham games really are like the three main things that really like know how to make Gotham like and also like the first two Tim Burton movies. Those guys that I just mentioned, they really know how to set the tone for what Gotham City is supposed to look like. It's like Gothic City. It's like shadows almost everywhere, and it's almost like perpetual dark with only somewhat lights here. It's like it's almost in perpetual darkness. It's very rare you get sunlight in this town. I just love the look. The stonework, the rooftops, like this whole Gothic architecture is just phenomenal. Every time Gotham City is created in a movie, I want Gothic architecture. So Batman's running down the alley. It's like, he doesn't know which way it's up right now. And he's having like, certain flashes of what happened, but he can't piece it together. And there's always, when he goes to a certain spot, you always get these certain flashbacks from when he's a kid, when he got there, because it holds some kind of significance. But he's calling for Alfred as he's falling into some trash, and here comes Constantine, just like, I'm not Alfred, but I'll help you out. And it's like, of course, because Constantine's just an ass. I mean, he'll help, but he's got to be an ass about it. You see like flashbacks of all through the 3 issues. You see certain flashbacks of Batman remembering the times when he was a kid and being around his parents. And I like this unique take because no other, I could be wrong, but no other writer ever put the Waynes in this kind of position where in this iteration of the Waynes, there's a rift in the relationship. So much so that Thomas Wayne is having an affair, and they're on obviously a verge of divorce. But Bruce, being a little kid, around like 8 years old, is not aware of what's going on in outside his own little orbit, which is standard for children of that age. It's like, you got like everything provided for you. Multiply that by 10 being a rich kid. But it takes certain, drastic moments for little Bruce to acknowledge, because every kid goes through this, because you got to acknowledge that, there's, your parents specifically have lives outside of you, and they hurt, and you know, and you know, things bother them, and so that kind of little jarring of realism is something everybody goes through every once in a while. But as he's playing on this little merry-go-round, and you see like Tom's eyeballing this chick, and you see like a funny little drawing of Martha just staring daggers at him. But beyond the trees, you see this little girl, which is the Enchantress. Which when I first read this years ago, like because it was around the time when the first Suicide Squad was still like in the zeitgeist. So the Enchantress that's drawn in this book is the way it's depicted from the first Suicide Squad movie. Not that it's like a bad look. It's just that I it was the first. There's a lot of moments you feel like a little confusing and it's on purpose about which way is what. But I always assumed when I first read this that clearly this is an Enchantress, but I thought it was like the Angel of Death or just like a generic demon taking the form of the Enchantress, because that's what Batman in his human mind can actually like just put in place, because it's too out there for him to comprehend. Uh, so Bruce wakes up in his like shabby apartment room where John is watching the news reports, and he's saying like he'll fill in the blanks for for anything else that is not brought up. But you also get to see Dead Man in this, which I was like pleased to see, because not many people utilize Dead Man as much as they should, because he's actually he's a pretty dope character if you use him right. And not just like a fly on the wall kind of character. And in order for Deadman to, aka Boston Brand, to interact with the living that's not, tied to the supernatural, like Constantine and Zatanna, who also makes an appearance here, he has to possess a body, uh, more specifically a human body, so he can be able to communicate. But unlike other iterations in this, they have Brand not stay too long in a specific body, because it's being possessed by him specifically. Don't know about any other kind of ghostly possessions, but they end up, it's kind of like having food poisoning, so they end up vomiting him back up, pretty much expelling him. So now he has no choice but to go to a different body in order to continue like interaction. So the news shows that a body's been pulled from the Gotham River. It's the dead body of the Joker, which stuns Bruce. And I was like, okay, I gotta follow this up. So he goes to the bridge where the police are, and there's also like another body, another person that was involved on the bridge with Bruce and Joker in the Joker comic short story. And Gordon is talking with this homeless dude wearing a green hoodie. He has a significance in this too once we get to the end. He's trying to tell like Gordon like like I saw it all. It was like a demon and blah blah blah. And then Batman gives chase to him. Now, Batman doesn't, interact with Gordon in this. In fact, you only see like Gordon at least twice throughout this entire adventure, and that has some significance, I imagine. There's a lot of interpretation with this story that can go on either way with anybody, but Batman gives chase to this homeless guy, and he ends up going down this little tunnel thing. where it's like abandoned train station. But Batman stops right at the doorway, and it's like cool image. Like a lot of images are so well done. I love looking at them because you can spend all day just because always something going on in the background if you look hard enough. Because there's like little tidbits here and there you might blink and you miss it sometimes. But I love this little fog that forms like a face, and you hear this little ghostly. Clearly, it's the Enchantress. Just like speaking with him every once in a while. It's like, or you think it's I think it's Enchantress. It's somebody else sometimes. Uh, I know what you did. So like, what did Batman do? Ooh, what did Batman do? So that's where the whole he's coming back to the Batcave, chains and suits, and he asks him the computer to run analysis, on his body, and it's like, everything's fine. I was like, what? Like, check again, and you hear this ghostly like, you know, you think it's like the computer, but it's like a ghostly response from the computer. Pretty much like, maybe check your head. And then like, what? And then the one of the batsuits in the armory seems to come alive and try to reach out and grab Bruce, and Bruce just, and this is where you get the definition of naked, which usually means vulnerable. There's a difference between being nude and being naked. And right now, Batman is naked, and he's like, curled up in a fetal position because like he's still that scared little boy, and it's like this though in his own house, especially in his cave when he's by himself, or at the very least with Alfred, who doesn't show up in this entire uh, uh, story, which feeds into with the whole Gordon thing as well. There's probably a specific reason why they're not involved or in contact with Bruce throughout this entire adventure. At least I'll let you know what I think. But Bruce is completely like just frightened. It's like he's very rare when he shows that side of him, and only very rare certain people get to see that from him. Uh, uh, Alfred, maybe Dick Grayson, uh, maybe Barbara Gordon, maybe Superman. But those are like probably the only few I could think of on the top of my head that would, would not, Batman would not feel judged, or, you know, uh, you know, his ego won't be bruised with these particular people see him like this. Maybe Catwoman, but that's a little iffy. It depends on who's writing Catwoman and Batman together like that. But he quickly comes out of dons a homeless man disguise to try to get word on the street. Okay, like where's that guy in the green hoodie? Because he clearly knows something. I'm trying to find him. And that's where you see like Zatanna on the street corner trying to hustle some fools, doing like not hat tricks, but like, gambling, like, find the queen, find the queen, who's your mother, find the queen, that kind of thing. And he, because clearly he knows Zatanna, but he's in disguise and he doesn't want to just walk up to her like, Zatanna, is me, Batman. He needs a lowdown, and he's trying to give her the description, and she pulls out a Joker card and is like, is this your friend? Is this the friend you're looking for? Really playing to the whole, Batman's, weird like relationship he has with Joker. And meanwhile, Boston Brand is trying to like, speak with Bruce. It's almost like he gets cut off when he's trying to warn him about something. Like, there's a conspiracy against you. Dark forces, man. And if you don't, and then he keeps getting interrupted. And it's like, it's specifically done in a way. Nobody wants to, because typically Batman is usually in control, but he's like us, the readers. He's been dragged around in all these different directions, and nobody's given a clear answer what the hell is going on. Uh, then uh, Batman goes to this church that apparently has been vandalized, but for a specific clue here. John is in the church as Batman is walking in. He sees the statue of Jesus uh, desecrated by having his hair painted green and face bleached white and ruby red lipstick and words "ha ha ha ha" scribbled all over the altar. And this leads Batman to believe the Joker is not dead. It's clearly taunting me. So now Batman is like, okay, I gotta find Joker. I need some leads. So uh, Batman is stalking, like he's being led to this underground bar or nightclub, but he's sitting on top of some buildings with Constantine, and he's reminiscing again. And he always had these like just out of nowhere flashbacks of his parents, and realizing what they was going through, that he wasn't like 100% paying attention to, or just it went over his head, because he tried to play it down as much as they can, but he wasn't really doing a good job, because they always, one particular, you know the father's storming out of the house, while the mother's screaming like, "You think uh I'm not gonna get half of this? You got another thing coming, or you think you're gonna get this house? You got another thing. It's gonna be over my dead body." Uh, and Tom's like, word to the wise, don't be here when I get back. So of course, like, Bruce, being a rich kid, is like, riding on his horses and seeing the father storm off. He immediately started blaming the mom, and of course he's dressed up as the Lone Ranger. He got these little toy pop guns, and he goes back in the house crying, thinking like something mom did. So he pointed at her head, and it goes pop, and she turns around with tears in her eyes, like, "Why do you want to hurt me, son?" He's like, "Why, Bruce?" And then she, starts like, I want to say screaming at him, but it's definitely like raising her voice. "Promise you, you'll never use a gun. Promise me." Like, I promise, I promise. This kind of feeds into like Batman's philosophy about no guns. It's like, at least in this iteration, he made a promise to his mom: "I won't use guns." So they go. Batman goes into this nightclub, and you hear the crowd chanting "blood, blood, blood," and you see like this rapper on stage, and it's like just like a different iteration of Etrigan, the alter ego of Jason Blood, who transforms into this anti-hero demon thing, chanting the words "Gone, gone, the form of man, rise the demon Etrigan," and he speaks in rhymes, which I love when writers remember he does that. It's always off-putting when they don't input that part, maybe because they're too lazy to make up rhymes. But I thought it was a clever idea. Yeah, rappers speak in rhymes. They're poetry artists in a way. So yes, that would make sense. That's a great idea. So yes, and for information, he's not getting a straight answer for X again. So he also, at the same time, enchanting this crowd like a siren. Uh, So he's grabbing hold of Etrigan, and Etrigan get these club goers, most of which have guns on them. All it's kind of like the poster of one of the John Wick movies, at least second or third one. I think it's the third one, and got all these guns pointing directly at his face. It kind of reminds me of that, even though this came out before the first John Wick movie. Or man, when was the first John Wick movie come out? Because this came out in like 2018, 2019. Kind of 2014. 2017. So yeah. Uh so yeah, I mean it's almost like around because John Wick 3 came out like in 2019, like when 2019 exactly? May 17th of 2019. And Batman Damn came out. Sorry, I'm just too curious because like clearly like the writers got inspiration of this particular panel from uh, John Wick. And the story concluded on June 26, 2019, and this movie was released in May 17. So yeah, all three movies have been long out by the time Batman Damned wrapped up. See the poster. Yeah, it was John Wick 2 poster with all those guns pointing at him. So yeah, so they definitely got inspiration from John Wick in this particular moment. But here comes Boston Brand intervening because at this point, Batman's like, if you have them all fired, they'll kill you too. They'll kill us both. And Etrigan is like, not necessarily. Then he has them all pointing guns at each other. And then Boston Brand comes in, takes control of one of the guys to back up Batman, who immediately knocks the gun out of Boston's hand. Because like, no guns, absolutely not. And of course, like the artists don't really like drawing guns. It's like, from what I've heard, it's very complicated drawing accurate looking guns. And I'm not an artist, so like I can't really like dismiss. I mean, like I drawn as a kid from time to time, and even like drawing like try to draw weapons. Yes, it is kind of difficult. Not they like well, they're pretty much more experts than I am, so they're really want to try to make it as like detailed as possible, especially for artists like this. But like just for a basic thing, even I have difficulty just doing something basic of a drawing of a gun. But then like a loud boom goes on, and then everybody runs out and see like a bunch of buildings on fire. And then Batman immediately starts seeing uh, the Enchantress fully grown and mention about like the thing uh, that's promised to her. Because as a small child, after hearing his parents arguing across the hall in this big old house, cause I guess sound travels. Uh, she showed up in his room, seemingly make some kind of like deal with him, a deal for his tears, and we'll elaborate on that a little bit. But then Boston Brand snaps Bruce out of it and points to the sky about uh, the bat signal with a smile on the front. Joker is back, but Batman runs to the burning buildings to try to save people because that comes first to him. And then he runs into the homeless guy again with the green hoodie, and at this point, it's pretty much like confirmed is more to this guy than meets the eye, and he's clearly meant to be the Spectre in this, God's right hand. And he's shouting like, "I know what you did, admit it." And of course, Batman doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. He's trying to, you know, he needs to save him so he can get some information from him. But of course, debris falls on him in the process, and Atrican pulls him out. And John just right outside and is like, "Oh, you big old softy." Atrican corrects him. It's like, "Hey, I didn't do this out of goodness of my heart. You know, it's more. He got more. He still got more to do. Like I just want him to suffer a little bit longer." So Bruce goes to work and try to deals with the Joker, who's like causing like a big old shootout while going to try to wrangle things. But it turns out it's not the Joker. It's Harley Quinn, kind of with a new getup to try to trick Batman into showing up. Because now the Joker's dead, she's pretty much like, it's kind of like in the Arkham City. Oh no, not Arkham City. In Arkham Knight. No, it was in a DLC in Arkham City. I got it right. It was in DLC in Arkham City where she pretty much like, well, it kind of bleeds into Arkham Knight, but she's really like, lost, and this is still like years before she come to like the realization that he was no good to her anyway. But after she lost her Mr. J, she doesn't have any kind of direction. So here, she like her face paint gets kind of like a Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead kind of aesthetic going on, and there's a shot that's kind of reminiscent to like a moment where Bruce, as a kid, tried to like shoot his mother with like a pop gun, and she turns around and say like, "Why, Bruce?" And then you see Harley after Batman punches her, and she turns around with tears in her eyes in the same kind of position, just begging like, "Hit me again, please, keep hitting me. I don't want to live." And it's like she used to the abuse, and well, Joker, and it's like she takes it wherever she could get it, like the kind of level of dishing out that Joker used to. Only probably Batman can dish it out. So Batman hesitates, giving her the opportunity to inject him with some kind of like serum or something that nearly puts him off his game. He's like all dizzy, wobbly, like he's drunk or something, because he's not really fully paralyzed. And what she's gonna start doing is try to like rape Batman at this point, and she does her costume. You see like almost like an embalming, or like I think it's embalming, but like a mortician's like intrusion or insertion, and like the Y cut, as you can see. And this immediately, when I saw this, I immediately started thinking like, is Harley dead? Is this in Bruce's head? What the hell's going on? Because only corpses have that. Unless she just have like just nothing pulled out of her, she just had that cut and like take back up. But then like Batman gets his footing, and this is where it gets one of those little confusing moments, because where you don't know one way or the other how it's going. But Batman picks her up, slams her against the bat signal, and it seemingly like he's about to choke her to death, but it also seems like he's also fucking her, because Batman and Joker had this kind of weird kind of relationship where it's like it's almost on the borderline on kind of like the if Catwoman was a guy, it'd probably be like the same kind of like weird kind of fixation on each other. And yeah, it's just like you can never tell, because like part of me feels like he's doing both. He's just giving in to urges that he usually keeps bottled or reserved or in check, and now he's just cutting loose and he's fucking her, while at the same time I think he's actually choking her to death. You never see Harley after this point. I mean, I leave that up to y'all interpretation too, because leave a comment below whether or not do you agree with me or you have a different idea. In the final stretch here on the 3-issue run, and Batman ends up, well, this is another confusing thing, like how he ends up in here, but he wakes up Barry like, the bride in Kill Bill, and he's trying to break out so he won't like, suffocate and be buried alive. And Swamp Thing shows up, unearths the coffin, and breaks him out. And you see Constantine like sitting on a gargoyle, kind of mocking Batman by taking off his tie, cutting holes through it, and putting on like a domino mask. And he shows Batman his utility belt, saying that he I got this off of Harley while you two were going at it, and he pulls out a pack of cigarettes, like fancy a cigarette, that's kind of leads me, because you only would do something like that if you just finish having sex more often than not. So that's why it kind of leads me to believe that he both had sex and possibly killed Harley Quinn. And Swamp Thing's trying to give some advice to Batman not to trust Constantine, because these two have a very tumultuous kind of relationship at best, because Constantine is constantly an ass to a lot of people, and Swamp Thing is like kind of focused on the green, and being its protector. Whether or not he saves people in that process is completely depending on the circumstances. But then Enchantress shows up, possesses the graveyard statues to attack all the three, because she feels like they're interfering. But thanks to Swamp Thing, they stopped them all. But Batman's kind of like fed up. I need some answers here, like what the hell's going on. And they go to meet up with Zatanna again, now in a proper Zatanna outfit, and they do this seance with Boss of Brand, part of it. And in the seance, they summon the spirit of young Bruce Wayne, who, because they're trying to find who the cause of it. Bruce is the cause of all of this. And they go to Crime Alley, where Bruce sees Enchantress cradling young Bruce while the dead bodies of his parents lie, spread out on the floor. And you come to realize that young Bruce, in order to be Batman, because we all seen him playing stuff with Batman, it seems like cold-hearted to people, and rarely show his emotions. It's like kind of in this iteration, it's kind of like a take on why is that. The kind of answer kind of like that kind of question in this interpretation. The Enchantress took his tears, in a sense, took most of his emotions in order for him to be what he needed to be as Batman, because if he had those emotions, probably could have hindered the process of what he is as we know it. And John takes out a pistol and then blows this demon chick away. But it's probably the most badass move with John Constantine throughout this entire adventure. And then Batman's like, okay, I had it. No more jerking me around every which way to go. I should have just gone here from the start. So he goes to the morgue to try to find the Joker's body. But he's starting to piece things together because it's more than meets the eye at this point with all this jerking around. But then it's like, but he's a little weary. And John is like, all right, I kept you away as long as I could, but this is where we part ways. And you see like some kind of realization come over Batman's face in this. And John just tells him like, you don't need to get caught up in sentimentalities, mate. And just gives him this one advice about like, just take care of what you say to the Almighty when you get there. Because at this point we kind of suspected, at least halfway through the second issue, Batman is dead. And for the most part, that's why you don't see him interacting with Gordon, and that's why there's no part of, in my interpretation, why there's no Alfred around to answer his call for help. No Bat family at all. This is like, the only allies Batman interacts with is on the occult realm. And you see the Spectre inside the morgue telling telling Bruce like, I know what you did. And Batman just like, is what I didn't do. And then they finally pieced together what happened. And during the fight on the bridge with the Joker, falls over the edge and is holding on, and Batman is about to save him, but because of the stab wounds inflicted by the Joker, he's like, I'm probably not going to survive this, which is kind of crap in a way, because like, how many times Batman got stabbed and still has some kind of medical kit to at least hold him until he gets to the mansion to get stitched up. But whatever. You feel like, okay, this is fatal. I do not want this guy to be around when I'm not. Even though you should have the Bat family around, but then again, it's like, can they really stack up against the Joker by themselves without him? Because I dealt with him long enough to be able to do this dance with him and make it out, in relatively one piece. But he clenched his fist, refused to lift him up, and the Joker falls over to his death. And it seems like at some point after that, Batman ends up passing away, and Batman's remorseful, and it's like, he's telling like the Spectre, isn't it this a little harsh? And Spectre rebels like, no harsher than what you did. It's like, I kind of get it. It's like, and this is gonna open to interpretation for your morality here, the morality scale, what have you. It's like, someone as evil as the Joker, I don't think anybody will begrudge you for still saving his life. But I don't think anybody would judge you for at least not stepping up. Not like you pushed him, but you not about to help him either. It's kind of like the Batman Begins thing. It was like, I'm not going to kill you, but I don't have to save you either. That kind of thing. But he's being judged on this. I think, like, obviously God has a different, scale of morality in his worldview, and you think he still you you could have helped, but you chose not to because you uh, thought it would have been better this way, and it wasn't your call to make. Uh, uh, and then Batman just looks at the body covered up, which is kind of like probably hinting that that's his body. Uh, and he just says like, "I wish he was. I wish he was still alive." And then his spirit gets sucked into the drawer thing, or like kind of furnace or whatever. And then this is where I kind of feel like where the mystical part comes into play, because earlier in issue 1, clearly Joker fell to his death. Here it seems like Batman's last wish, before he goes off to the great beyond, it's like, I want to correct this. Come what may, I want to correct that mistake, recant, and so somehow like, okay, go, rewind to the point of falling, and instead of him falling to his death, he rises out of the water and shows off in a classic Joker killing joke fashion, him holding on to his face and everything like that. Classic Joker image. And you look very close. That's what I'm saying. Like, you gotta pay attention to the artwork here, because you might miss out stuff that's lying subtly in the background. As just like in the Killing Joke, you have all those ha ha ha's going on in the behind him. Look at the skylight of the city behind him. You see a subtle ha 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 ha's going on behind him. And I thought that was a fantastic touch. And this kind of leads, it hasn't happened yet so far as I'm understanding, but I'm pretty sure they're probably planning on it, because that's why there's 3 issues here, because these things take a long time to write and draw in this particular fashion. It takes time, but it's like worth the wait kind of situation. Because this leads into now what will be like the Joker's kind of little adventure, his like, you know, uh, coming to Jesus moment kind of situation. So yeah, I mean, great story. This is one of my favorite Batman stories, honestly. And like I said, it's like some of the stuff is like, left into interpretation, because like there's really no wrong answers almost when it comes to what you're getting from this story, which honestly makes it even a better story because of that. Usually I like to have some kind of concrete answers to certain things, but this is one of those rare occasions where I actually enjoy just theorizing with people about stuff like this. Like, what am I getting from this? Because, like I said, there's no wrong answer to this. It could have been gone either way. But if you read Batman Damned, what do you think about the controversy? What do you think about the story? Anything you didn't like about it at all? What's your favorite thing about it? Please leave a comment below. And I'm going to try to see if I can squeeze in one more comic for the month of October. Can't make any promises. It all depends on, you know, how I can get through these other stuff. Because I still got the anime psychology video I want to do before the end of the month. Because I still got, I think I might have to do it like tomorrow after work at some point. Because I thought I can do it today before I get started on these videos, but like these videos got to get up and running to kind of take precedent. But I still got at least there's one more draft to get through. It's nearly done. Hopefully by Thursday, fingers crossed, Thursday or the very latest Friday afternoon, I should have the next anime psychology pretty much set for the month of October. It'll be following the same theme here. I should have it out by the end of the week. But yeah, I will see you guys. I gotta at least do maybe 1 or 2 short videos. A little surprise for you guys in a few minutes, but